Well, I'm Representative Landon Brown. I represent House District 9 in the state of Wyoming legislature, and I've been doing that for the past 3.5 years, going into my 4th year now. Proposal that's in front of us right now is what I'm not in favor of. And the proposal that's in front of us right now has been tried by 6 or 7 other states, which is where you can use existing infrastructure and you can use existing highways that the federal government has supported building, and you can use that as a tollway, but you have to jump through hundreds of hoops. And it just doesn't make sense to me, because these other 6 or 7 states that have tried this have spent millions and millions of dollars trying to appease the federal government to do this, and not a single one of them has been able to do it in the long run. They've all dropped out and wasted millions of dollars. So to me, it seems like it's an incredible waste of money to go through the same process that other states have dumped millions of dollars into, and I just don't want to see Wyoming do that. There is an option for us to do a toll road on I-80 and make that a tolling lane, but it would cost us $1 billion to build a new lane in each direction, and the state would have to foot that bill. The federal government won't support that whatsoever. So in a time of economic downturn in our state where we're not seeing coal, oil, and gas revenues, we're certainly not going to see $1 billion in revenue to build another lane. So tolling I-80, in my opinion, is just not the way forward. So I think WYDOT's in a sticky situation right now. I think we've got way more roads than what we have money for. And I think when you look and you pare it down to just the I-80 corridor, yes, I do believe, especially with the amount of truck traffic that we see on a daily basis going in and out of our state, I do believe that those figures are probably fairly accurate. The problem that I have with that is, if you pare that money away from other projects across the state, those roads are going to be getting hampered just as bad. And those are the roads that Wyoming citizens are using on a daily basis, not people that are just traveling straight through. And so WYDOT has done a really good job over the past anywhere between 10 and 15 years, making sure that I-80 is still good for all the truck traffic coming through here, but we're also maintaining our roads throughout the rest of the state as well. I don't know that we have an easy way forward. I think it's going to be growing pains for all of us, but truck traffic is not going to go down anytime soon. You know, that's a really good question. It's a tough question, because when you look at the Wyoming Truckers Association and the impact fees that are associated with driving a truck through the state of Wyoming as opposed to our neighboring states, we're far higher on our truck traffic for oversized loads, any type of those loads and fees that we charge truckers when they hit the port of entry than our surrounding states. So the argument has always been they do way more damage to the road than a standard passenger vehicle, so why aren't they paying their fair share? And I don't necessarily feel that they're not quite paying their fair share, but I do think that there's a better way to do this. But it's a silver bullet that nobody's found yet. To sit there and say that these people really have to, the truckers especially, because they're doing anywhere between 14 and 16,000 times the amount of damage that a standard passenger car does, that's where the breakdown happens. We can't charge a trucker 14,000 times the amount of fuel taxes that we charge a standard passenger car. We have to look at this legitimately and understand that this is not going to be an easy process to work through, and we're not going to find a silver bullet that's going to solve every single issue that we have with our roadways. You know, the study, to me, I think when we sat down at the last committee meeting, it wasn't a study of what we've already studied. It was more of a, where can we look at tolling as an option, but what other options do we have? What are the other things that we can look at for fixing our roadways? And a couple of those are, Senator Pappas brought up the idea of doing a singular toll, right in the center of the state as opposed to multiple tolling stations. Okay, well, that's one option. But what about the people that go up and down I-25? We have a lot of traffic that goes through there. Should we look at charging on those as well? Should we look at charging the other places? There's quite a few other options that we could look at beyond just tolling I-80 that would help bring revenue in, and that's where the study and the task force, it was actually more looking at a task force to bring these interested parties to the table, the Wyoming Truckers Association, Contractors Association, all these people that have a benefit with the use of I-80, bring them to the table and find out, is there another way that we can do this besides just strictly tolling the trucks that are coming through the state of Wyoming? I don't think that I really am, and it's a tough question, because if it came out that that's what this study and the task force and everybody recommends and that's the best way forward, I'd need to consider it. But as it stands right now, no, I'm not open to tolling, because I don't feel that that's the adequate way that we're going to do it. We're going to spend millions of dollars on this project to get it up and running, and we're not going to see anything until 2028. You're talking 10 years down the road before we even see the potential of this getting approved. How much time and money are we going to waste to get it there? I can tell you how much, because we can just ask the other 6 or 7 states that have processed this. In my opinion, we don't need to go down that road. We've already seen these other states with millions of dollars spent and hundreds of thousands of hours spent, and it's not worth it in my opinion. I think budgeting better is a good portion of it, but it goes back to what I said earlier. I think one of the things that we have to look at is, what roads do we want to keep in the best shape possible? Do we want to keep the roads that Wyoming citizens are using on a daily basis, or the ones that we have people coming in and out of this state transferring their goods and services from one coast to the other? Do we want to keep that one as high as possible? We do have to look at revenue enhancements. There's going to have to be some sort of that if we want to keep it at the status quo that what we have. WYDOT has told us that we're $100 million short of what we need for all the roadways across the state. $100 million is not just going to appear, especially when we see coal declining, especially over the next 10 to 20 years, and we see oil and gas being as volatile as it is as well. We're going to have to figure out a way to fix this, and right now the federal government is looking at bringing in some additional help with our infrastructure, but when we start looking at the federal government bringing this in, we really can't count on that all the time, and it's taken us 20 years to see this infrastructure bill come to fruition.